what's up guys, and welcome back to MOV+. Hope you've had a good week so far. We're gonna kick things off with 1 minute of cardio of choice, so you guys can be a little creative there, pick what you want. We're gonna go with box jumps. So we've got a nice small box so we can just move through this unbroken, get the heart rate fired up. Once we clear that, we've got the second part to the want, which is gonna be a 3-minute EMOM. What you'll see is 30 seconds of floor press. So that looks like that, and then we're gonna move into 30 seconds of goblet squats. So just with one of the dumbbells there, squatting down nice and deep. And those two things go back and forth for 3 minutes. And then the last piece to it is 1 minute of max V-ups. So working the abs, just jackknifing at the hips there, okay? You good to go, Em? Yep. All right, so starting in 10, we start off with that 1 minute of cardio of choice, guys. This is your time to just kind of slowly ramp up into things. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So looking at box jumps, if you're doing the same as us guys, if you've got some stairs in the house, if you happen to own a bench, anything like that, better if we can go on the lower side. As I said, this is just the time to kind of dial the heart rate in, get things warmed up. So you don't want to go straight up to a big 30-inch box or anything like that, or jumping up on a ledge in the back garden or anything like that. We want to make it nice and easy, warm up the calves, warm up the legs. We want to think about landing with the feet almost in a sort of a semi-squatted position, so knees are nice and open, kind of just cushioning that landing, and then standing tall as well. You'll see that Em's arms are going to play a role in this as well. Even though it's primarily a leg-driven movement, the arms are going to help kind of create a bit of momentum upwards. And about 15 seconds, we're going to push into that second part, which is the 3-minute EMOM, so 30 seconds on floor press, 30 seconds on goblet squat. 3, 2, 1, so come down to floor press. So with this one, guys, going for 30 seconds on this, we want to see elbows, or at very minimum, your triceps touching the ground, and then coming up to a lockout. You'll notice that Em's dumbbell position is nice and neutral, so dumbbells kind of point north-south rather than across the body. And main thing as far as like keeping it nice and stable is shoulder blades wound back together. So she's actually going to actively stick her chest out. 3, 2, 1, and coming up to goblet squat. So single dumbbell on this one, guys. We're going to hold onto the top plate, keeping it right up close to our sternum there, and then we're sinking down into that really nice squat position. Now, if you're a little bit immobile, or maybe you're a little bit newer to this, work on a controlled depth. So you might put a chair behind you or a box or something like that, so you've got a marker to go to. We want to really prioritize and make sure that the heels stay flat on the ground. We never end up on the toes, and we don't want those knees to fall in on each other. 3, 2, 1, and come back down to floor press. So although we're probably going to be working with some fairly light weights for this part of the workout, it being the warm-up, we still want to kind of ingrain good movement patterns, and that is going to be making sure we've got the setup really well. So feet, hips, shoulders, head, everything is glued to the ground. We don't want to be bridging up or craning the neck up off the ground. We want to feel like we're actually pushing everything back through the floor to create a lot of stability. 3, 2, 1, and back up again. Now the stance is about shoulder width here, guys, so we want to think about kind of fanning the knees out, creating space through those hip joints, and that's going to allow us to get into that really deep position. So looking for hips to end up lower than the height of the knee. That's going to allow us to get that nice little sort of elastic bounce out of the bottom. It's also going to be really good just for the health of your hips, knees, and ankles to run them through that nice full range. 3, 2, 1. So one more time through the press squat combo. So we're going to keep an eye on those shoulder blades as we press out, making sure we don't overreach and protract the shoulder upwards towards the roof. Actually, want to think like we're almost pushing off the dumbbells and pushing our shoulders back through the floor. So if you have a natural little arch to the low back, that's okay, as long as your hips don't lift up. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Now, sometimes it's tempting with a squat to get kind of pulled forward or to collapse that upper back down with the weight of the dumbbell. We want to make sure we're keeping that head stacked on top of the body, chest up nice and high, keeping a really strong posture. 10 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. So last minute, guys, we're going to go into those V-ups. So go as far as you can. Obviously, you can break them up a little bit if you need to, but we're gonna try and just fill up the 60 seconds with as many as possible. So looking for nice, long, straight legs, feet together, toes pointed. And then the arms are gonna swing back. So the bottom of this is gonna look like that hollow position. So just kind of resting on the low back. And the top is that nice kind of jackknifed, folded up position. Now, if that feels too hard, guys, you can go to a tuck instead. So that can be a shorter version. So that's a knee bend. Okay, that's a little bit more accessible, but you work with what feels best for you. We've got about 20 more seconds. So if you ever find your shoulders getting on the ground or that low back feeling a bit clunky, like you're sort of slapping the ground, try and re-establish that nice curve. 3, 2, 1, and done. All right, so that's the warm-up done, guys. Have a little bit of recovery time. We're gonna check out build next. Alrighty, guys, we're gonna check out the build section now. So this is gonna be 9 minutes. It's an alternating EMOM, and what we're gonna see is 3 movements where we're gonna do 50 seconds of work, 10 seconds of rest each time. Now, station number 1, we're gonna go with a split squat. So it's a lunge, but we're gonna have the feet fixed. And what'll happen is we're gonna do 25 seconds one way, and then we switch, and then we do 25 seconds the other way. Obviously, the last 10 seconds out of the minute is for you to rest. The second minute, we're gonna go a single arm dumbbell swing. So with this one, again, 25 seconds on one side, and then 25 seconds on the other, and then the 10-second rest. And then the final one is a 50-second plank hold. So that's coming down, hands and feet there, or forearms and feet, I should say. A nice straight body position, holding that, and again, having that last 10 seconds off each time. So 9 minutes in total. Em, you good to go?
Yep.
All right, starting in 10. Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So with this one, guys, we want to see just a light knee touch to the ground and then a full lockout with the legs at the top there. So those are kind of our 2 points we want to make sure we tick the box on each rep. Remember, we're going to be going for 25 seconds on one side, 25 on the other. So it's important to keep your eyes on the clock as you move through this. And we want to have a nice upright torso. So you should feel like you're just in an elevator going straight up and down with no lean. And switching. You notice it's quite a long stance, which is generally what we need to have with a good strong lunge anyways. We're going to see the front shin nice and vertical at the bottom of the movement. And then the back heel is going to allow itself to really lift off the ground, give it some freedom so she comes right up onto the ball of the foot with that back foot. 3, 2, 1. So 10-second rest here. We're going to move to the single arm dumbbell swings. So this will be 25 on one side, 25 on the other. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So looking at the stance, guys, we are just outside of shoulder width, so enough room that we can comfortably get the dumbbell between the legs. The knees are going to drive outwards, but not forwards, right? We're trying to keep that good hamstring tension as she moves through it. So she's not going to squat in and out of it. It's a hinge pattern. So she's looking for the butt to try and push for the back wall behind her. 3, 2, 1. So switching sides. Now we're going to be doing a Russian swing with this one, guys. So that just means we're coming up to eye level versus going all the way up to overhead. And looking at a really nice extended spine, so a nice straight position. Neutral spine's what we're looking for. You want to have that nice kind of snappy hip lock out as you go through this. And resting. All right, so 10-second rest again. We move to the plank next. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Okay, so setting up into this one, guys, the main thing we're trying to look for is a nice straight body line. So from side on, we can draw a line through Em's head, shoulders, hips, knees, ankles, everything's lined up nicely. If you find yourself pushing your bum up to the roof, like you've set up kind of too close together with the hands and the feet, and you're in more of like a camelback kind of a position, walk them out a little bit, try and drop down, that sort of thing. On the flip side, if you find yourself kind of sagging the hips, feeling a little bit of pressure building up in that low back, just re-establish that nice straight position. Sometimes it can be good to have like a little bit of a marker. Maybe you have like a stack of cushions on the ground next to you. You know that your hips need to be as high as that couch cushion or whatever it might be. 3, 2, 1, and resting. Another way you can do it is a drink bottle height is generally pretty good for you to kind of get your hips up level with that next to you. 3, 2, 1. So back to the split squat again. So it's a nice smooth tempo, guys. We're doing this body weight today. If you feel like adding weight to it, you can, but generally we can get a little bit more volume in when it's lighter like this, work a little bit more on that conditioning side. And switching. So along the way, guys, always good to just cast your eyes down to that lead foot and that knee and make sure they're both pointing in the same direction. Sometimes if we're not thinking or if we're getting a little tired, the foot can kind of fan out and that knee can actually collapse in, which we don't want. We want it to track nicely and get it nice and straight. And resting. So moving to the swings again. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So this is a power-based movement, guys. It's a momentum-based movement. So what we want to think about is once we've hit the bottom of that hinge pattern, we're driving up by tensing the butt, tensing the hamstrings. You're also going to find that the knees are going to snap to a lockout by the quads really flexing up. So you want to make it quite violent, really throw your hips forward and get that really nice quick stand up. And switching. You'll notice that Em's keeping her eyes and her head and her chest, everything's pointed to the front versus looking down and then risking having her back round off or her shoulder to kind of curl in and losing that really nice squared up extended position. And resting. Okay, so moving down to the plank next. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So the plank is primarily about the abs and the core, that midsection through there, but we also want to pay attention to what's happening to the rest of the body. So we're thinking legs locked out, so that means quads are going to flex up and get nice and tight. We're also got active shoulders, so you can see that around Em's shoulder and upper back there, she's not dropping and sinking through. She's actually actively drawing or pushing the ground away and make sure she's staying active through the whole body. There's no part of her that's relaxing right now. So as I said, although the abs and the glutes and everything around the hips to rib cage there is going to be nice and strong, we want to have everything else on with it as well. Three, 2, 1, and resting. All right, so one more cycle through. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. Now, if you're a little bit newer to training, guys, you haven't done split squats before, or maybe lunges are just a bit of a weak spot for you, slow them down. And if you want to use something like a broomstick next to you or set up next to a kitchen bench and just lightly have your fingertips on there, this can help with the balance and also help encourage you to keep a nice upright posture, which is going to be really important. Oftentimes when people are not so confident with this movement, we see them kind of hinge forward and almost lay into that front leg, and we end up in this really bad kind of back-loaded position. So thinking about opening that up, as I said, if you've got a broomstick, you can help kind of push yourself up out of it, and eventually you'll be able to get rid of that because the legs will get stronger and stronger as you go. And resting. All right, onto the swings. And go for it. So you notice that Em's having the dumbbell point straight ahead, so forwards, backwards, rather than cross the body. So obviously it makes it easier for her to get it between the legs rather than if it's side on, she's gonna have to go super wide with that stance. So neutral position is good. It's also probably gonna likely feel a lot more comfortable on her shoulder as well. Okay, switching sides. Notice at the top here, she's standing tall but not leaning back. She never goes past neutral. So it's about coming upwards but not backwards. Three, 2, 1, and resting. All right, last minute to the build workout, guys. We've got the plank hold, one more time. 3, 2, 1, and go for it. So again, this being the last one, guys, the fatigue's probably starting to creep in a bit. Just do that checklist. Are my knees straight? Are my quads on? Is my butt tight? Is my belly button drawn to spine? Are my shoulders active? Okay, all those things. Is my head neutral? Yeah, am I craning it up or dropping it down? Or is it nice and lined up with the rest of me? Plank's often one of those mental toughness kind of positions, because obviously you're not getting to move around. There's really no rest in it. Even with a squat, you can stand up for a moment. With this, it's just tension on the whole time. So you have to have the battle won in your mind even before you start the set and really commit to it. Okay, 5 more seconds. And done. All right, so that is the build workout done, guys. Have a little bit of recovery time. We're gonna go through a little bit of cool down work next. Alrighty, guys, so all the hard work is done. We're just gonna cool things down now with a little bit of mobility. So first drill we're gonna do is a slow Cossack squat. So we're gonna do this for the next minute. So what we're seeing with this is a wide stance, okay? And we're basically sinking off to one side whilst keeping the other leg straight. So a couple of key things here, guys. If you are fairly tight through the ankles and the hips and you feel like you're just gonna straight up fall over this one, do it near the leg of a table or a doorway or something you can hang on to in front of you, and that way you can sit back onto your heels, because that's gonna be really important. When Em sits off to this left foot, she's keeping that heel flat to the floor. She's not allowing herself to kind of pitch up onto the toes and go super knee dominant. So if you need something to hang on to, that's totally fine. You'll notice that the straight leg, she's actually gonna pivot and turn that toe up to the roof, and that just allows a little bit more range, a little more comfort to get into that corner position. So this is gonna be really good for just hip mobility in general, but hamstrings, groin, the ankles will get a little bit of a move around as well, which is always nice. Okay, so that is our first drill. The second we're gonna do is what we just call the big circle. So we're gonna stay in still a fairly wide stance, and we're, as the name suggests, just gonna draw a really, really big circle with our arms. So starting from the bottom there, right up and around, a little bit of arching at the top there. We don't have to go excessive with it, obviously go to your comfort level, but just rolling it around. We're gonna do this one stiff-legged. Obviously we just did that Cossack squat, so that's gonna be nice for bending the knees, hips and ankles, but this one we're focusing a little bit more on hips and spine as well. So getting some really nice movement through the low back, the obliques, the abs. You'll find that obviously with the arms going up and over the top as well, the shoulders will probably get a little bit of an open up too. But just going back and forth, side to side. With both of these drills, try to go nice and slow, yeah? Take your time with them, don't rush them. There's no bonus points for getting extra reps in. And then just swiveling around to where you can with your current mobility. And time. All right, so those are our 2 drills. If you have time, guys, 3 or 4 rounds of it, get nice and loose. Otherwise, we will catch you next time. That's been your Move Plus workout.